Welcome to Donington Park for the first round of the GT Cup. After a very successful exploratory round last season at Snetterton, 2008 welcomes the GT Cup's first full season, with the likes of Ferraris, Ginettas, Porsches, BMWs and Lotuses all competing. It's going to be an exciting season. Each race is 25 minutes long. Coming up right now, it's race 1. Let's take a look at the grid.
Well, a great mixture of cars. Mike Donovan will start from pole position just ahead of Paul Mace, Peter Morris, Michael Leonard, Stephen Rance, Nick Whale, Colin Broster, David Back, Jay Haynes and Mark Stevenson will round out the top 10. As you move further down the grid, we see number 6 Andy Ruin, the 44 car of Brewster, Tommy Dreelan, Lee Atkins, and the number 8 car of Alan Newton, Duncan Cameron, Andrew Tate, Tom Hallisey. As they move further down the grid, you see guys like John Dillon, Bertie Carruthers, Arwin Williams, David Bottrell, Nigel Spendler, Barclay Dougal, Ian Hartley, Fiona James, Stephen Doyle and Robin Clark. You can see just how many cars we have here on the grid at Donington. John Wilson, Stephen Taylor and Colin Simpson will round out the grid, and a rolling start. So as the pace car pulls off, the cars will think about charging down towards Redgate Corner. Always a difficult challenge for these guys. Nick Whale, very, very experienced, gets a pretty good run. He's looking to get round the outside of Steve Rudds. As they turn into Redgate, lots of different lines can be taken. You can get around the outside, and clearly that looks like what Broster is trying to do. They're in a 33 car. We go back to the fantastic sounding Marcos here. Now, Rob Barth, you're a GT driver. What's the challenge here at Donington?
The full Grand Prix circuit here at Donington, you've just got to be really smooth and quick. Donington rewards smooth, fast driving. You can't afford to be erratic, and as the field streams down through the Craner curves towards the old hairpin, it's Mike Donovan that leads in his GT3 specification Porsche.
As you can see, we've got a great mixture of different marques and different makes of cars. Porsche and Ferrari are the dominant forces in terms of numbers. We've got some really interesting cars out there. We've got cars like the Lotus, we've got cars like that little 944, the M3 GTR, TVRs. We've even got some cars that you would perhaps not to expect to find out, like the BMW Z4 of Lee Atkins.
And as you say, it's strength and depth of field. 33 cars on the grid, it's fantastic. And completing their first lap, they're streaming through Coppice now onto the back straight. It's still Donovan that leads there as we ride on board with Andy Ruin in his Ferrari 360. Listen to the great sound of that V8 behind him.
It's a challenge driving on the Grand Prix circuit, Rob, because obviously you've got not only the obvious thing of some additional corners, but these last two corners, this corner they're coming into here at the Melbourne hairpin, really is very easy to outbrake yourself and lose a lot of time by running wide. And this next corner is probably one of the most demanding ones ever, as Broster around the outside of well. That's a hell of a lot of late braking.
Well, there we see Nick just underdoing it and Colin really going for it around the outside. And yeah, these last two corners here at Donington, in all honesty, they're a bit rubbish really, but just two hairpins, and like you say, very, very easy to go into them too fast and just lose out on the way out.
Well, you can hear there on and off the power as you're going through the corner. It's very common to see that with that particular corner. It's very easy to get into the corner and get on the power a bit early and get a little bit of understeer running wide. Now, Stephen Rance, he's the Porsche Open Club champion from last year, so he knows all about Porsches. And a lot of drivers like Steve enjoy their racing, and see the Ginetta just going through the shot there. That's a mark that are really establishing themselves in sports car racing. Down the inside comes the 37 car, the very distinctive M3 GTR of Barclay Dougal.
Yeah, great move down the inside from Dougal into Redgate there, very decisive and cut down the inside. He's a man on the move at the moment.
The good thing about that, of course, Rob, is you can then hold up the guy you're passing by just keeping him out the throttle a little bit longer, and going to lose a lot of momentum as a result when that happens. Now, Bottrell there in the 81 car under a little bit of pressure from Stephen Doyle, and amazing how equal the lap times seem to be between some of these cars when you look just how different the configurations of them are. Tommy Dreelan, he's under a little bit of pressure from Broster as well, so sorry, from Newton, so that battle looks like it's going to run and run.
It does on board now with Nick Whale in his Porsche as we come underneath the Dunlop Bridge, braking hard into the S's there, and cutting back that battle that Alan Newton, he's putting him under a lot of pressure in front of him.
Can you get around the outside though, Rob? That's one of those corners you look like you might be able to if you get enough momentum.
Maybe, but you're really reliant on the other driver running out a road, and that's exactly what Andy Ruin is hoping that Jay Haynes ahead of him will do as they come up to the second of the two tight corners.
Yeah, you can see again, be very patient getting back on the power. They're a very intelligent piece of driving, technically such a challenging circuit here. Michael Leonard, the Irishman, looking like he's getting into a nice rhythm. Doesn't look like he's taking much time out of Donovan though. That gap seems to be fairly stable.
It does. I think Donovan's got it under control. Leonard ran a little bit wide in the middle of the Craner curves, and that cost him a few tenths of a second, but Donovan looking like he's been very accurate with his lines. He's picking up the throttle early, he's coming out of the corners quickly, he's got it under control at the front, I think.
Now also these cars of course come in different categories in terms of their performance. So we've got three classes 1, 2 and 3. As we see a very, very smoky Steve Rance there. That looks pretty expensive, looks fairly terminal. It's really handed the advantage obviously to Broster.
It's Paul Mace, Simon, it's Paul Mace. Same colour car, same type of car, but that's Paul Mace's version, and sounds like the clutch is going in that car, and quite a common problem with the Porsches if you over-rev them on a down change, and we heard the engine revving wildly, so probably a clutch there on Mace's car.
Well, two very different designs of BMW sliced through the shot there. You see Lee Atkins. Now, this is a young man that's had a lot of success in his career already. He's won the Radical Championship in the past, and certainly looks like a guy who's trying to establish himself as a top-line sports car driver in the very distinctive shape of the Marcos.
Colin Simpson's Marcos putting Ian Hartley's Ferrari F430 under a lot of pressure. Good driving there from Hartley. It's actually Ian Hartley's first race here at Donington this weekend. That's how varied the driving spectrum is.
Bit of a lock up there from Atkins, very easily done. We mentioned earlier that corner there, the Melbourne Airport, you're coming downhill at quite high speed, so it's very easy to carry a little bit too much momentum there and then being forced to really stand it on its nose to stop the car. That perhaps explains why Atkins had that little lock up. You see now the three of them all coming across the line, virtually falling all over each other, and I think Tom Hallis has got in the mix there as we go back to Michael Leonard.
Leonard doing a good job consolidating his second place, and that's Pete Morris now in third. Pete sort of fairly in no man's land. These Porsches have become quite spread out, unlike the battle that's raging behind them. Ooh, big slide there from 44.
And Brewster there, he looked like he maybe locked the rears up on the downshift. I suppose it's fairly easy to do that in that kind of car.
It is, and towards the end of the race, the tyres are getting very, very hot. These heavy 1,100 kilo GT cars moving around on their hot rubber.
Well, the M3 GTR that's just come through the shot, that's a car which, that looks like there might have been a bit of contact. Hallis is turned around. Is he going to be able to get it out of the gravel there? That's very easy to get stuck in that sort of gravel on the exit of Coppice there, but he seems to have got away with it relatively lightly as the gaggle of cars got charging down. Aaron Williams in the 12 car looks like he's just lost out a little bit, and it does look like that means he's been sort of drawn back into the pack, Rob.
Lee Atkins there leading a gaggle of cars, including both Fiorano Ferrari F430s there, and they're still all nose to tail coming down the Craner curves. And Lee Atkins, remember, he's in a Class 3 car, Simon. He hasn't got the performance of these Ferraris. He's doing a great job.
Well, you heard earlier when we were talking to the championship coordinator there, that Mark Haynes was saying about this is a championship that's aimed mainly at gentlemen drivers, but there are a few exceptions, and Lee Atkins is one of them. He's a young guy that's already, as we said, won championships, and he's looking to make a career in motorsport, so really letting his class shine through. And as Mark Stevenson in the 73 car looks like he's gently trying to work his way onto the back of Broster, but it doesn't seem to have had too much luck at the moment. The Exige of Nigel Spendlove is a little bit behind that and doesn't seem to be able to take much time out of them, Rob.
No, here's another good battle. This is Andy Ruin. We saw some onboards from him earlier. He's defending hard from Brewster there in 44.
And the two of them do look pretty evenly matched. This is a classic case, isn't it? You see two very different cars, and talking about two very different cars, you can see just about as different as it gets, the 944 and the Cerbera. Well, power and poise, I suppose you could say.
The TVR Cerbera, happy memories for me. Of course, I raced a car very similar to that over a number of years, and yes, still have the race suit that smells of transmission oil, but there we go. Mike Donovan leads the field though now.
It does look like it's going to be Donovan taking a superb victory, got his head down and just drove away from the pack. So our results will show that it's Donovan from Michael Leonard. Pete Morris has a strong result in third. Nick Whale, Stephen Rance. Colin Broster wins his class, Mark Stevenson. 44 of Broster, Andy Ruin, and then Jay Haynes. So Class 2 was Colin Broster, Andy Ruin, and Jay Haynes Round out the scores with Lee Atkins taking a great win from David Bottrell and Fiona James.
Pete Morris, a very respectable third. Did you enjoy it?
I did. It's one of my favourite circuits, Donington. I live 20 minutes away. We've done a lot of testing here, and I knew it was going to be hard to try and keep up with the 997s, but I'm happy with third. I mean, that's what I wanted to achieve. I was hoping one of these lads would drop off, but they didn't. They kept the pace up, and the gap was always going to be 200 yards. But yeah, it was a great race.
Second place, how do you find the race?
Yeah, very good. I got a good start from the start. The boys were a bit asleep at the start, but I have to say fair play to Ken and KB Motorsport. Did a great job with the car. Car was superb. So very, very happy. But I think we need some more horsepower to catch this guy in front of us. So let's go back to the shop and get some more horsepower.
Well done to you. You led the whole race. How did you find it?
That was great, thanks. I was a little bit asleep when the lights went out, so that made Redgate a bit harder work because Nick Whale got a fantastic start. But after that, it was a matter of head down for a few laps and see how it went. And then I knew that once we started to lap, anything could happen. And so I wanted a bit of a cushion so that we got a bit of space in case somebody didn't see us coming. But really enjoyable. It's my favourite track, and I'm really pleased to be here.
Excellent. Well done to you. And were you aware you had a good 6-second lead there?
5 and a bit at the end, yeah.
Well, as you can see, the cars are lined up, ready to go. Let's take a quick look at those grids.
So pole position for the second race of the weekend will go to Mike Donovan as a result of his win from yesterday. Michael Leonard, Pete Morris, Nick Wales, Stephen Rance, Colin Broster, Mark Stevenson, and the 44 car of Brewster and Lyons. This time it's Lyons. Tommy Dreelan in 11th place, Duncan Cameron, Colin Simpson, fabulous Marcus, Andrew Tate, Barclay Dougal, a very distinctive BMW, Doyle, Hartley, Price, Carrera, and Arwin Williams. As we look further down the grid, Lee Atkins in the little BMW Z4, Bertie Carruthers, Robin Clark, John Dillon, as they go through all the way down to the 17 car of Tom Hallisey, who had a spin in the first race of the weekend. And finally, Nigel Spendlove, the 8 car of Wiles, and right at the very back, the cars charge through the last corner onto the start-finish straight, and as the pace car pulls off, it's a fairly even start between the two front row men, but around the outside it looks like Nick Whale is going to try and break later than everybody else. Can he manage that? No, he doesn't. He tucks back in, I think, but it's a fairly neat start so far. Rob Bath joins me.
It's blinking slippery down there, and big contact there between Colin Simpson and one of the Ferraris. That's the car number 26, is it, Simon?
It is. I think that is Jay Haynes, and he's going to be a pretty upset guy straight away. I don't think Simpson could just get that big Marcos stopped in time. Now, one of the key things that's happened since yesterday's race is there's an equalisation, as we heard earlier. We have some ballast going in, and 60 kilos goes to the winner, 40 kilos for second, and 20 kilos for third, and it certainly looks like it's equalised things, Rob.
It certainly has. Donovan doesn't look like he has the initial pace he had yesterday, and it's interesting to note that most of the front runners, Simon, have got their windscreen wipers on, so maybe Simpson was struggling with that with the big Marcos at turn 1 there, and yeah, it does look slippy as they wind their way through McLean's and then Coppice.
And it's a wonderfully flowing circuit, Donington Park, Rob. It's probably one of the favourite drivers' circuits in the country, and you can see now that as they come down into the Melbourne Loop, the challenge you have there of braking very, very late without risking locking up. Simpson is neatly tucking the car into the apex. Can he get better drive out, Rob?
He struggled a little bit off the curb, but ferocious performance from that Marcos. Yeah, very, very quickly up, and that's Anthony Wiles there, son of the legend Mike Wiles in the Ferrari.
Yeah, the 28 car, Fiona James, lady racer in with the Ginetta G50s. Ginetta have really started to make a massive impact on the sports car scene. Their one-make series have been hugely popular, now spreading their wings into GT racing. Now around the outside, Michael Leonard, the Irishman, absolutely superb on the brakes there, really did catch out Donovan. I don't think he expected that one, Rob.
Mega, great move there from Leonard, and that's allowed Nick Whale to really close up. So the top 3 absolutely nose to tail there as they come down through the Grainer curves now.
It looks like the wipers are off again, so clearly the weather seems to have stabilised, which is good news for the racing, because it means they can really push the car to the absolute limit, running on Dunlop tyres, and that means that it evens out performance. You don't have a different tyre manufacturer coming in to potentially have an advantage. As you see the 37, the very distinctive M3 GTR of Barclay Dougal. That's the sort of car that we've seen racing in things like the Nürburgring 24 Hours. There's Atkins in one of the other BMWs charged through.
Yeah, two very different types of BMW, and again, second race of the weekend there, nose to tail, and that eclectic mix of cars continues right the way down the grid. There's Paul Mace recovering from his back of the grid start with the car that we had the mechanical problem with yesterday.
Yeah, and he was putting some pressure on David Bottrell. He's in a 944, so two very different Porsches from two very different generations. As the 56 car of Dreelan is under a little bit of pressure now, and it does look like that battle is going to run and run, and happens that all of these cars seem to be very, very equal. As we heard earlier from Jock Simpson, they've really put a lot of effort into trying to equalise performance, and it's certainly giving us some fantastic racing. An open-face crash helmet being fashioned by Nick Whale. It's a bygone era. It's all that historic racing he's been doing, Rob, isn't it?
He's a BRDC member, yeah. Top chap, Nick Whale, great job, and much more competitive in this second race, really getting the bit between his teeth. So top three still nose to tail there as they cross the line.
Yeah, Leonard just a little bit further ahead that time, seemed to get better drive in the background. That Marcos certainly seems to have a lot more pace in this race. He's gently starting to work his way towards the back of Pete Morris. As once again we see the scrap in the middle of the pack there, and the number 5 Ferrari coming through of Ian Hartley. He's certainly enjoying the scrap, and that really just continues all the way down the grid. Look at the gaggle of cars.
Yeah, this battle of 10 cars is all about 12th position, so there's a real midfield scrap going on. And when Haynes designed the championship coordinator really thought through, he wanted to give these guys the opportunity to enjoy themselves, and that's exactly what they are doing.
Yeah, and we earlier saw the 20 Ferrari of Duncan Cameron. That was getting stuck in the middle of that pack, but once again, as we go to the head of the field, these three cars really are absolutely level. Wales seems to be sitting here watching what's going on. Looks like Donovan's got a bit of a run. Can he do it down the inside, Rob?
He's very, very late on the brakes. Leonard stays out wide. Oh, he stayed out too wide. He's on the green bit, Si.
Well, it just looked like he almost gave a little bit too much respect to Donovan that time and just couldn't seem to give him room and get the car stopped and turned in. And you really are literally stopping the car for that part of the circuit, Rob, aren't you?
You are, and Pete Morris there quickly capitalising upon his mistake. So Leonard has gone from the lead to P3 and now being put under pressure as well.
And Pete Morris, very, very experienced Porsche racer, has raced in all different classes of Porsches over the years. Lee Atkins, though, the other end of the spectrum, a young man trying to establish his career in sports car racing, and has really been getting amongst it in one of the lower class cars and slightly less powerful than some of the others, but making up for it with some spectacularly skillful driving through the corners.
Yeah, I was having a look at that Z4 in the paddock earlier, and it's a very, very well put together little car. His family-based team have done a great job with it, so Lee should be very proud of the job he's doing in the car this weekend.
Yeah, and it certainly does look like it's a car that's going to get stronger and stronger as a little bit more development goes through now. Simpson, he's battling that mighty Marcos all the way through, trying to think about getting down the inside of Leonard, going into the old hairpin. It's a brave move if you can do it. We've already seen that earlier on he couldn't manage to get the car stopped, and look what's happened to Leonard as a result.
Yet again, Leonard gave the driver too much room, and he's really paid the price on the exit there. Lost 3 positions in 2 corners, so yeah, Leonard really needs to put his fists up a bit harder, I think.
Well, Steve Rounds, a very experienced competitor himself, a Porsche Open champion. He saw that opportunity developing very quickly and dragged himself through a very neatly executed move. Again, see Cameron in the Ferrari starting to put a little bit more pressure on Dreelan. Dreelan seems to be unable to just break away from that pack. The other Ferraris seem to be a little bit of an unusual line through there from Anthony Wiles, and he's been used to racing some very different cars, as Anthony, so it's interesting to see him in a GT style car.
Yeah, he's moving forward, and Colin Simpson, oh, huge lock up there, the rear wheels locking the rears and spinning round at the bottom hairpin. Oh, very, very unfortunate. He was really charging forwards in the Marcos there, but he's going to live to fight another day.
What's going to cause that sort of thing? Is it just a matter of a bit too late on the downshift, or maybe not enough heel and toe? What do you reckon?
I think maybe not quite enough heel and toe, just locking the rears there, so unfortunate.
Yeah, obviously a big rear-wheel drive, powerful car, need to give the front a bit of a blip as you do the downshift to match the road speed. So you'll hear drivers talk about heel and toe in a lot of modern cars. You don't really need to do that because of the way the gearboxes work, but something that's a little bit more old school, like a Marcos, and like a Marcos that doesn't want to stop, Rob.
And that's the end of Colin Simpson's afternoon.
but it's been an absolutely superb afternoon and a superb weekend for Mike Donovan, who takes his second win of the weekend in his Porsche to really stamp his authority on the GT Cup for 2008. He is going to be a man to watch for sure. Certainly that car is going to get quicker and quicker, and there is the winner of Class 2 again. A great weekend for Colin Broster in the yellow Porsche. And it is Donovan from Wales and Stephen Rance taking third, Pete Morris, Michael Leonard, Colin Broster, Mark Stevenson. And it's Anthony Wiles and Stephen Doyle rounding out the top 10. In Class 2, Colin Broster takes it from Anthony Wiles and Stephen Doyle. And Class 3, once again, Lee Atkins from David Bottrell and Fiona James.
Well done to you, sir. How was it?
Yeah, it's all right. It's fine. Crap start. I'll make it hard for myself, don't I? But yeah, we've got pace. We've got race pace, but the first few laps, we just don't seem to be able to find the time. First time on Dunlop, so maybe it's me.
And a bit of testing will solve that in future, I take it?
Yeah, I just have to do a bit of testing. I have to go and rob a bank or go back on the game.
Well, good luck with that then. Thanks. Nick, a very respectable second. Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, I really did enjoy it. I've been racing historic cars for the last 10 years, so I'm a bit out of touch. And the first race on the first lap, everybody got completely stuck in, and I was sort of wimping back in the sort of historic mode, looking after everybody's car and everything. So I realised in the second race I just had to get stuck into the job in hand, which we were able to do. And I tried very hard to keep up with Mike, but he's just a little bit quicker. I think the car's just a little bit quicker, and there we are. You know, we laid chase, and then of course this guy here in the black car came up behind, and I was very aware of that, and just managed to hold him off.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
Another
much.
win for you. Well done.
Yeah, that was super fun. It was a little bit slippery to begin with, but I knew it was a long race, so just take your time, and then it all worked out just great. So good fun, really good fun.
And the track dried out towards the end, didn't it?
Yeah, track progressively got drier, but it was slipperier than this morning. I think just a lot of people have been out there. So, anyway, great race. Really enjoyed it.
Well, that's it today here at Donington Park. We hope you've had as much fun as we have, and hopefully we'll see you next time at Anglesey.